In the top position of Oxide for game number 1. He's Team NV. Give it up for Nightmare. And his opponent, another Protoss player. This one for Africa Freaks. This is Stats. And already we see the mirror matchup really showing to be a complete mirror, as we do have those gateways on the low ground, kind of just telling me that they do want to expand relatively quickly. And I think that's a good idea, because if you don't expand quickly on Oxide, which has a relatively shorter rush distance, it's not the shortest one, but it can be pretty easy to get across the map, then it's just so difficult to take that natural base. Now, this does open you up a little bit to the potential for adepts to come in, unless you wall off completely. We do see Stats going to be going for that early Zealot. Nightmare not going to respond in kind. I think, obviously, Stats is the favorite to win this one, and I think that would be good for him, because, like I said, they need to win all 3 with maybe only 1 map loss to force a tiebreaker. But look at that. Nightmare gonna just try and slow him down as much as possible, while we do have the Stalker coming out. Oh, wow. First blood right there, as Nightmare going to be going up to Stargate. I'm interested to see, because Stats is going for that second Stalker. That kind of tells me maybe going into Twilight Council, because that is a little bit more gas intensive. So I don't think he's going to be Stargating it up. And yeah, there we go. Second gateway, third gateway, no natural to speak of. Nightmare has no idea about this, so it is just a good old-fashioned 3 or 4 gate. I think it's 4. I think it's 4 gate. Just dropping down a pylon right there, or a gateway rather. Now Nightmare is going to get a good scout of this. He sees the units, but will he see the pylon? I don't think it matters, because he does know what kind of trouble he's in. Going for the Oracle, but I mean, it does good work, and with the addition of that shield battery on the high ground, it's going to be good for the defense. But at the same time, you know, okay, never mind. Yeah, he does clean that up pretty well. Gets that second Stalker, and now Stats is just going to expand off the back of this. He wasn't really serious about it, I guess, but he did force out. I gotta say, he did force out the Void Ray, which is a lot of minerals and gas that you probably don't want to spend as Nightmare. Ooh, even gonna get caught out here. Stats getting a really nice pick off, and that's going to just be the blood in the water that he smells, as 3 more Stalkers going to be warped in. The Twilight Council does go down. He's got to fight in range of those 2 shield batteries if he wants to survive. Good micro back by Stats. Going to keep these guys alive for as long as possible. He gets up to the high ground, but the shield battery overcharge is going to make sure that not only does that Void Ray finish, but the pylon survives. A recall will still mean he loses 1 Stalker, but he does get the Oracle. Okay. So Blink, Adepts, Force Field. Stats is... I don't want to say he's all in at this point, because he can still transition into that third Nexus. Not necessarily safely, but he can transition into it. But I'm just worried that he's given Nightmare a little bit too much of an edge. You know, Blink is a little bit quicker for him. He's got those additional pylons, so he's got all that. And I think he's just trying to play catch-up with throwing down all these different buildings, like getting that Forge in for that +1, like getting the Robo facility down so that he can get the Immortals and be a little bit safer. You're going to get the Adepts, which is pretty nice. And now it's Nightmare's turn to be aggressive. Both players kind of just retreating with Nightmare having a little... Is that a pylon? Yeah, that's just a reinforcement pylon as the probe comes in. Gets taken down. Yeah, nothing really too much else to say about this small point. Both players just going to be powering up for quite a bit. Stats does have that +1 about to finish, though. And it looks like he is not going to be content to sit back while Nightmare gets up that Immortal count. He's going for a very big push. Guardian Shield going to be popped. So Nightmare not going to really be able to take this fight efficiently. Losing one Stalker very, very quickly. And Stats is just going to dive on top of this. Good start. Even going to be going up for that third base. Force fields the ramp, keeping Nightmare absolutely helpless to defend this base. He's gonna have to cancel that. His attention is elsewhere, though, as he does force the recall of a couple of units. And by a couple of units, I mean a lot of units. Although he does leave the sentries behind. That's kind of sad, because those are very gas expensive. So now Stats has almost full map control, it feels like, just with how forward he is placing himself. Nightmare stuck on 2 bases, trying to get it up again. But we can even just see that production tab for Stats. 4 more gates, +2, charge on the way. As time goes on, Nightmare just gets further and further behind. I don't even think he started his +1 yet. Six worker kills. Beautiful, beautiful. And now, yeah. Like, I don't want to call it way too early, because there have been some situations where, you know, a player comes back either through a blunder, like blinking on top of Immortals and just taking too many shots. Disruptors, obviously, a very good comeback mechanic, even though there are none. I don't know. Hold that thought, though, because Stats is going to try and make his way in. Not going to be able to do it. Just too much Immortal fire. Going to rotate around. Maybe find a little bit of an angle to jump into the main base. I think he does have that recall available to him again. But he does blink. So that is going to be on cooldown for a little bit, giving Nightmare time to block the retreat. It looks like a recall is used on some of those units, including one of those Immortals. So Stats not going to be able to stick around. Ooh, not leaving enough behind here, but he does bring the reinforcements around, and Stats is on a full retreat. Beautiful little catch there by Nightmare. Still, upgrades. Stats hits like a brick. Nightmare hits like a brick that hasn't been formed and is still in like that little ball of clay. And here we go, a big engagement coming down. The Zealots soaking up a lot of this fire. for stats. The Archons as well getting a lot of splash damage in, and Nightmare is pushed all the way back to his own base. Saves the Immortal with the Warp Prism, but can he kill this army? I think the answer is a resounding no. So stats blinking to win it. Getting right on top of this base as the probes are pulled to try and hold on desperately. As he gets cornered, that is going to be it. Stats taking the first game of the series and starting the comeback for a comfortable Protoss world. It's all a matter of crossing the I's and dotting the T's. As Nightmare staying in there just a little bit longer, maybe hoping for a miracle, but no. No miracles to be had today. I think that's about what you would expect from that kind of series. Stats is just overall the better player in that matchup. But yeah, he's still got a couple of big challenges ahead of him. I'm kind of just taking a look at their last match-ups. I take a look at it. It looks like Stats actually not really showing up a lot in this one. I see him with one game that he did lose versus Dream. But the rest of the time, his team has been a good carry for him. Like Joao getting the all kill versus Kimchi Wan just yesterday on day number 4. And that is pretty good. It means that Stats is still available in case of emergency in those kind of situations. But I don't know. Like, he's still got to get through Solar. He's still got to get through Ragnarok. And next up is going to be that very, very aggressive Zerg player that you know, you love. He's representing the dragon. Let's introduce him down here in the top position of Lightshade. Give it up for Alpha X's Ragnarok. And with a very strong performance in game number 1, looking at you down here in the bottom for Afrika Freaks. He has Stats. So just going to be a little bit of a block here. Ragnarok says, I don't care. I'm going straight for the third base. And, you know, he's going to go for a bit of a more aggressive third location. Looks like he recognizes that the probe isn't there anymore, though. But so he's just going to get his natural. A little bit safer. Okay. Nice, nice. But now the big question is, are we going to see a late game out of these players? I think out of the two, Ragnarok is the one who doesn't want that the most. Because as we kind of saw in the last series, once you get into that late game situation where the Protoss either has that really scary air army or a ton of energy exposed on those storms, it's just really difficult to engage into that as the Zerg player. Ragnarok especially likes to go for these, not necessarily all-ins, but light Zerg pressures with 100 Brooches and 100 Hydralisks. As well, we do obviously have Stargate as a potential here, going into Void Rays. I think this is a good map for it because there's a lot of high ground positions blocked off by the rocks, which makes it a little bit easier for this Protoss player to engage into it. He could go for glaives, just jump around, kill everything, and then jump out. There we go. It's gonna be Stargate, potentially Void Rays, maybe an Oracle or two. First Adept just going to be shading around, looking for any sort of information. Not going to look for damage, I feel. Ragnarok does have an Overlord, I believe, in position down there in the Peeping Tom location. Yeah, you don't want that to finish. It's not worth losing an Oracle or Adept this early on. But now his big thing is he has to recognize the Void Rays are here. What we've seen a lot of Zerg players decide to do with this is just go for this big aggressive push with the queens just waddling across, because that's really the best way to hit your opponent off guard before they have a lot of units available to them. And I mean, it's powerful. Rogue does it a lot in this matchup. The biggest problem with it is that you do need to get that creep spread very, very heavy across the map. Because those queens, if they're waddling off creep for a long time, they are very exposed to a counterattack by stats. So you can kind of see he's pushing some of these queens forward, just maybe prioritizing the creep a little bit more. And he is building up that queen crown. He's currently on 5. Maybe going to get a 6th or a 7th before going up to lair. I don't know. But Roach 1 down as well. That's standard. Like, Roaches just do very, very well. So Void Ray production has started in earnest now. We already see the transition coming down with the Twilight Council and the Forge. So once he gets up to about 6 Void Rays, you just go full on Archon charge lot and kill your opponent that way. Evo Chamber and Lair about to finish, so not going to fall too far behind in terms of those upgrades. Again, PvZ is one of those matchups where upgrades mean almost not as much, so we don't see them a lot as early. But still, having a little +1 on those roaches is going to be pretty good for when your queens start to do the walk. I like this out of Ragnarok as well. He's got that Spire coming in. If you guys, like, one thing I've seen Ragnarok and some other Zergs do is they don't just go for that big sort of attack, but they follow it up with this absolutely humongous Mutalisk transition. The Protoss player, off that, they desperately try and get out enough Phoenix because they do have that double Stargate. But, I mean, it comes so quickly that it's really, really tough to stop. We also see Ragnarok going to get a little bit more information. He's already seen the transition. He sees the Templar Archives is down, as well as that Robo Bay. That's all he pretty much needs to see from here. There we go. We see the queens moving on forward. The Soul Strut has begun. And that's the thing about the creep. They didn't have to walk too far off of it. Got to be careful moving up that ramp because they're, like, that's not the best in position to engage into. We do see Stats going to be going for a little bit of harassment, trying to pull him back. And actually, he's going to make the first move. Gets on the creep for the first time really in this game. But here come the Mutas. Oh no, getting the Warp Prism and now going straight for the main base. Stats isn't making any Phoenix. He's not making anything but Disruptors. He's about to get hit really hard with this. Yeah, he doesn't even have a shield battery or a cannon in this base either. So these probes are so exposed. On the front, he's poking as hard as he can, but he can't find an angle where he can take that fight. Well, losing the disruptors, that is humongous, forcing the shield battery to be popped. And now the Mitas can just go home. We see Ragnarok already just transitioning back to the ground army. Banelings. The supply can be a little bit deceiving because a lot of that is in these very squishy lings. But taking a look at it, Stats still doesn't have Storm. He still doesn't have a lot of Archons. He's only got these two in the front. And I don't see him making any more because, as I said before, he's making Phoenix to combat those Mutas. So that's a big gas intake for him. Now completely maxed out. Like, I think Ragnarok wants to be trading out some of these roaches. Just going to be sending them towards that third base, looking to get whatever they can. So I'm just going to force this back. Nice. Nice. But... you know, the main army is down here, very exposed to the huge amount of banelings, which are just going to roll their way forward. Now the roaches did get into the mineral line over there. The disruptor's trying to clean them up as quick as they can, but he does lose the fourth base. And he's losing 14 probes for these not so useful roaches. At this stage in the game, you want to be trading these out for Hydralisks, for Hive units. He doesn't have Hive just yet, but he's going up to it soon with Infestation Pit. I think Ragnarok, he's not necessarily running away with anything at this point, but he is giving himself just this big, comfortable lead. And honestly, I'm a little worried that Stats isn't transitioning as much as you might expect from him. Like, he's getting a couple of additional Archons, but what else is he getting with this army? No additional upgrades are coming in, while Ragnarok is coming up to +2 attack for both the Lings and the Roaches and Hydralisks. And here we go. Ragnarok's going to force the issue once again. The Archons getting some good splash on the Lings, but just pulling them for the Banelings, connecting with the Disruptors. A huge connection, though. But that is the last connection we're going to see with those Disruptors, as they all have gone down. The Banelings still pushing their way forward. Gets another cancel. Stats is just getting starved out. He can't afford to remake a lot of these units as well as he might like. And Ragnarok is just continuously maxing out. Even going for a +1 air attack. That's interesting. Might be wanting to go back into Mutalisks. He certainly does have a small gas bank he can draw from for that. But here we go. He's going to be looking to close it. And Stat's going to be going into as defensible a position as he can. Those Disruptors trying to fire forward. Does get a decent Baneling connection right there, as the rest of them soaked up on the Archons. Not the best engagement for Ragnarok. And I think there's just barely enough Protoss here to hold. But I guess Stats doesn't feel the same way. He taps out. And so Ragnarok, I don't want to say just yet that he has crushed a comfortable Protoss's hopes, but I think that was their last buffer in this series. If they lose another one, I think that they're gone. Yeah, because they're currently sitting on 4-6, so they definitely need that 3 win. But if you lose one more game, Hang on, let me just refresh the page. Thank you. I don't know if the Team Liquid guys are on this one, but if you are, thank you for being so quick about that. Like, it really makes it easier. Yeah, they lose one more, they're out. And it looks like Ragnarok got a little bit confused as to start. It's going to be a little bit of a team kill as well. Let's introduce these boys for the third time today. Introducing down here in the bottom, representing the Dragon in Alpha X. He is Ragnarok. And his opponent, also a dragon. Give it up for ZOUN. All right. Death Aura. If there is ever a Stargate map in the pool, this is it. I feel like this is the one where back when Zest started experimenting around with the Void Rays, this is the one that I saw it used on the most because of all these different angles that is closed off by the rocks, making it so easy to kind of just fly over and kill your opponent that way. Now ZOUN, he's the kind of player, he's got a good little multitude of builds in him. I don't really see him cheese that often. I have to say he's a much more straight up guy. But, you know, he will hit you with those Adept Glaives. He won't just stick on, what's that current meta of a ton of Void Rays go into Templar, Storm, Charge Lot. He does like to try and kill you early. But as we see that cybernetic score, we see another thing about Death Aura. It's a lot easier to kind of wall off your natural. You just need 2 buildings and a zealot rather than 3. Gonna be going into Stargate. That's to be expected. And Ragnarok. You know what? I think if Ragnarok does decide to push those Queen forward like we saw in the last game, it's a little bit harder on Death Aura. The map's a little bit more winded down the center, so you do have to break down the rocks in order to make it work. And he has taken the base down there in the 6 o'clock position. So that's just a little bit further to go with that creep. Now, yeah, there we go. Void Rays. Expected. Not displeased. That just means we gotta wait for that a little bit. As this Overlord is gonna come around, he will see it at the very end. That's kind of the last thing the Overlord ever sees in its life. And Ragnarok's just going to be shaking his head like, again, I have to play against this every single day versus every single Protoss. And I seriously think, like, Zergs are kind of tired of this meta at this point. So the double Stargate has come in. Looks like he's just kind of revealing some of those locations where you can put the Void Rays if you do go a little bit too far forward with them. The Oracle does come in, gets 2 kills, and forces a Spore Crawler cancel. That drone's still not mining. He's a little bit PTSD after that one. Once you get shot with a laser, that's kind of what happens to you. But yeah, pretty much the same steps, different map. Roaches, lair, Evo chamber, +1, push, either kill, or maybe not. So Joao also does have that robo facility for the Immortals in case of Roach. And might actually get a cancel on this 4th base. That would be really nice. Just slow down the economy a little bit, as Ragnarok is only on about 58 probes, certainly nowhere near that 70 to 80 worker count that, you know, is so powerful for a Zerg economy. But, you know, he has cut drone production for just a little bit more on 67. He's still pushing that creep as far forward as he humanly can. The Queens will have to come back home to defend this with the Void Ray. Revelation going to go down, just keeping an eye on the Natural as much as possible. He's denying a lot of gas on this 3rd base. I think that's pretty good, because if Ragnarok decides to go for that Spire transition again, that means there's going to be so few Mutalisks for him to utilize. I think I like Jotun's transition a little bit better as well. We saw stats go straight up to the Templar archives, not really build anything in between. And, you know, Jotun is just going to keep himself a little bit safer by getting those disruptors up. But, oh my goodness. Oh, no, no, no. Those Void Rays are certainly not in position. The Nidus Worm is about to finish. I don't think Joan has any idea about this possibility. You can see, we saw that there was that little bit that is just barely out of his range, and the Void Rays are being pulled away by the Roaches on the top side. Oh, does he see it? Does he see it? He doesn't see it. Oh no, this is bad. This is as bad as it gets. Because a lot of his units are over here defending the 3rd base, meaning the Queens jump out, and that is a lot of girl power right there. 13 of them instantly sacks that Oracle. And now the Void Rays can't get close enough with all this transfuse energy. Charge does complete, so he will have that to help him defend, but the Archon caught out over at the 4th base. And he's forced to defensively warp in over there. The Disruptor not going to get the best connection. Oh my goodness, Joan. He might just be dead. The SimCity doing what it can, but it's also hindering him quite badly. Making sure that those Zealots can't get on top of this army. And even if this doesn't outright kill him, all of his tech is gone, so he's got the Robo Bag. That's it. As all the Void Rays are dead, the Stargate is down. He can even kill off the Templar archives if he's so inclined. The probes are pulled a little bit late into the fight to try and help out as much as possible. A little bit of a weird burrow situation right there. I don't think necessarily BM, but a little bit just styling on him, showing him that, hey, get out of my game. Yeah, 2 Void Rays, 3 Disruptors, 5 Stalkers. Now another Night of Swarm's just going to make it so that Ragnarok can rotate around between these two locations. Just pull ZOUN apart to finish this one out. Yeah, look at that, dancing with the roaches. I think they are just a little bit quicker when they're tunneling claws. And, yeah, they're on top of the middle of the line. Does get a lot of queens there. Pretty nice. But there are still 8 out on the map. And, yeah, you're not going to recover from this against a 4 base Zerg player. Oh my goodness. The Muta transition as well. Just gonna try and be that final nail in the coffin. 21 Mutalisks on the way. Even though he does clean up the Night of Swarm, what does he have on the ground? Nothing. He's got Void Rays. You know what kills Void Rays? Mutas. You know what kills, like, small groups of stalkers? Mutas. You know what kills mutas really well, but you don't really have the production to make in high enough numbers? Phoenix and Archons. And here we go. The shield battery just going to be focused, fired down before it can be overcharged pop. He's fighting this straight up. The Void Rays fall. The Stalkers battling it away. Maybe an overextension here by Ragnarok. He's losing a few of those mutas, but I think it doesn't even really matter. He is more than content to trade those out. Even going to get the Phoenix, just diving on top of everything. And Ragnarok with a very solid performance, looking to finish things here in this game. Is just still flying around. That is, I mean, that's it. There's just way too much here. His defense was really sick. He did have an okay defense. The problem was he lost all his tech structures. Like, if he didn't lose the tech structures and held on the way he did, maybe I would say yes. But yeah, unfortunately, just losing all of that, not being able to remake it effectively. The Phoenix doing what they can, just try to shoo this away, but they're not in high enough numbers, so the mutas will respawn. And now you just floodlings and GG. True. Like, I will concede that point to you, Manakino. That was the good part for him. But that does mean Ragnarok will move on, and ZOUN is eliminated for today. Let me see if I can refresh the standings a little bit. So that'll put the Protoss world into 5 and 8. To Dual Booms walks 9 and 8. You know what? Just for good measure, this guy wants to finish it off. Spawning down here in the bottom for Alpha X SC2. Give it up for Ragnarok. And his opponent up here in the top, he is Hurricane. Another Protoss player, another day for Ragnarok here. I gotta say, I like the difference that we're seeing between different Zerg players in this matchup. Their response to kind of the same thing from Protoss. Like, for example, Rogue. He goes for that big attack. He goes for the killing blow with that little bit of a soul strut. Ragnarok, he mixes it up in a really cool way. Getting that Nidus Worm down where you least expect it. The thing about these maps is a lot of them do have a very large main base that not all the time is scouted out. I'm sure Hurricane definitely wants to recognize that this time, though, after seeing it happen to his compadres. But yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to him. Does he go Void Rays again? I don't know. I don't think he would want to do that. I think he might want to go for like Adept Glaives to try and slow Ragnarok down earlier, because he sees what happens once you hit that 70-80 worker count as the production just goes into overdrive, especially when you get 4 bases worth of economy for the Zerg player. So here we go. The first Adept's going to be coming down, and it looks like my prediction was wrong. He is just going to go straight up into a more than likely Void Race. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess, is the motto this season. It looks like Ragnarok as well has cut drone production entirely, getting 12 lings. It looks like he might just want to go for a big flood to close this one out early before there's a lot of units on the other side of the map. Hurricane, I don't think he's recognized this because I don't think he saw that second big warp-in, or not warp-in, I don't know. I'm forgetting my English. Sorry about that. But okay, he draws drone up a little bit behind it. I was wrong about that part. But he still does have a lot of lings, which are going to be able to get this cancel on the third base. Probably just waiting for a second before diving in. There's only one Adept, and that's going to force a lot of Oracle energy to defend. But Ragnarok, he doesn't care. He's just going to expend these lings to get the kill. Will he be able to get it? It is very, very close, but he does get the cancel in the end. But it does cost him all of those lings. So just trying to slow down Hurricane as much as humanly possible. That Oracle will go across the map, but there will be Queens in position. And now we see the Baneling Nest coming down, changing things up a little bit. Will we see a Roach Warren? That's my big question. The Adept's going to be coming in. Ragnarok is just going to cancel this base for a while. Yeah, and there you go. Roach Warren goes down. He canceled the Baneling Nest. Okay. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense to me, but he still will lose about 6 workers. The Oracle going to come in as well, just focus fire down some of them while the Queens aren't paying attention. So getting 9 kills, pretty good start there from Hurricane. And now off the back of it, he hasn't committed to any additional Void Rays. He just got that one that we see flying around the map and the Oracle, and he's just instantly gone into Immortals. into Templar Archives, into charge +1, all the shebang, all the bells and whistles. I like that a lot more. And just for the sole reason that I think if ZOUN and Stats had a few more Immortals against the Roaches, they would have been a little bit better off. But I digress on that point, because we do have the Adepts coming in, getting 4 or 5 kills, maybe a couple more before they do decide to, you know, up and die. I'm going to go for a little bit of an Archon drop. Nice. As we see the Lings preparing over on the other side, trying to dive in. Might lose the Oracle, has to be very careful with it. Only 13 health. There's no Queen in the main base. Close enough. Oh, man. A little bit of a missed opportunity for him right there, but the Archon's going to be coming in. Jumping right on top of the Queens. He's attacking the Archons, though, not getting on top of the War Prism. Transfuse is going to save the Queens, but that is the last bit of energy on that Queen getting focus fired down. And he will get out of there with both of those Archons. Good start. Very good start. Oh, but, you know, Ragnarok looking for these small angles with these Lings to get in and do a little bit of counter damage of his own. Take a look at the units lost tab here. 17 drones have gone down to the 1 of Hurricane. So Hurricane doing a very good job of staying cost efficient right now. That +1 upgrade paying in droves. So Hurricane moving out, probably looking to secure a 4th. Forcing the recall, nice. As we see, he's going up 2 Lurkers. I like it. He's got Hive just about finished up. So a little bit faster on the transition to the late game there for Ragnarok. Hurricane down about 50 supply, but that's honestly, this early on and with Roaches, that supply is very misleading. As we see Hurricane going to be moving out. Did he get Storm? He did not. He's only just now starting his +2 upgrades as well, so it will be a very small deficit for him to deal with, as we see a small Zealot run by going to be going towards the 4th base. Alright, a little bit of a deflection there. We're gonna see these guys kind of just staying back to power up a bit more. I don't necessarily... Wait. Why is he making a second Templar Archives? Hurricane making a little bit of a mistake. That's probably why he's not... Wait, he Archon dropped. He knows he has that. But there you go. Trying to fight in terms of the Lurkers. Those Stalkers absolutely melting to the spines. Keep in mind that he won't be able to reposition them as easily, however, just because he doesn't have adaptive talons just yet. The Zealot run by in the main base as well. Going to pull away some of the attention. As Ragnarok backing off just a little bit. Transfuse is going to make sure that those guys do stay alive. The Observer trying to get sniped, but not going to get it. 1 Lurker does go down. And Hurricane, he can siege up this location. I wouldn't recommend it, because that is a lot of commitment up there. And, yeah, that opens you up to a very big possibility for a good counterattack up to the top position. Top side, rather. Zealots do get caught. They don't have that +2 just yet either, so the Roach is going to be able to do a little bit more damage than they can. Storm, finally about halfway complete. Really, really late for this. The Disruptors, though, getting a beautiful connection on those Roaches to force this back as we see Hurricane going up to Carrier Storm. Oof, that is a tricky situation for Ragnarok once it gets that high, as he hasn't really been able to be on Hurricane's side of the map for a very, very long time. Those High Templars are just asking to get killed there. All right. So Ragnarok did get that Nidus again. He doesn't have any units in it. Will the Zealots be able to clean it up? It's going to be very, very close here. And he does get a ton of Lurkers out, but the Nidus does go down. Oh, no. They need to hold on for as long as humanly possible. I think Ragnarok needs to take some of the attention away from this position because he's not going to be able to get these Lurkers out. It's all a matter of how much damage can he get done right now before they fall, splitting them up, trying to do as much as he can. He will get about 8 kills for it. But yeah, 5 Lurkers, 8 Workers, no. Pulling attention away for as long as he can. He is making about 13 more Workers just so that he can get that big spine wall down. I don't really think Ragnarok has the best late game in these situations, but that's why he kind of has to slow it down a little bit once we get to that stage. He's got to force the engagements on his terms. He can't really let Hurricane dictate the pace of the game anymore. But, you know, those 9, 10, 11 Spore Crawlers going down does mean that he does want to play it a little bit more defensive. If you're going to do that on any map, this is probably the one, as you can secure the top position as much as you can. Not even going to get the High Templar there, though. Just trying to trade out some of these Roaches for the air army. Be adding on Infestors. I think I've seen Microbial Shroud out of Ragnarok the most, and I really like it. It helps his units fight much more efficiently. And even just gonna get that Greater Spire as well, transitioning to Broodlords. He's just gotta hold on here as Hurricane is dancing around these locations, looking for any sort of edge that he can get. Lurkers repositioning to clean up this small run by, but Hurricane is just trying to trade out those units. Roaches down here in the bottom. Ooh, he lost all the Lurkers. That's pretty bad. Yeah, you're not really going to be fighting in there. I know you want to trade them out, but that's not the way to do it. You still want to get some damage with them. Cleaning up the roaches in the bottom, though. Hurricane just kind of rotating around this location as he recognizes that Ragnarok is trying to secure the upper right side of the map. Yeah, that's a dangerous spore wall to get into. Disruptor's gonna fire, though. Finds both of the lurkers. Feedbacks going down, but the disruptors do fall to the yoinks. Now, the infestors are not out just yet. They are literally seconds from popping. And they will have enough energy for fungals, but they want to have enough energy for neurals. Ravager Bile's going to go down, cleaning up some of these force fields. But Hurricane getting a little bit of the better trade here, I'd imagine. 1.5 hours. Yeah, these games do tend to go by quickly. I agree there. But then you have ones like that Dream Creator game that just go on for half an hour in themselves. Longer than the entire series as a whole. Hydra's looking for an angle. But that's a little bit too many carriers for him. Yanks one of the carriers, though, into the awaiting jaws of the Corruptor. And now it's going to come down to the concave of her Ragnarok if he wants to win this fight. He's forcing Hurricane to fight down this narrow choke point of a ramp. But Hurricane has fully secured the bottom location as well, so a little bit of a not desperate situation, but one of urgency for Ragnarok to be able to secure another location. Adding on the Tempests. Good, good. Just, you know, he's like, it's Hurricane who's the right reactionary player right now. He's the one who just has to watch these transitions from Rag and then, you know, split it that way, which is kind of funny, all things considered, since usually Zerg players are the ones who have to play it reactionary. Welcome, welcome, Zeiss. You are late, my man. I'm gonna have to dock you points in the server. Trading out once again some of these Archons and Immortals. Gonna just work their way through these spine field. That is a really, really nice little run by there from Ragnarok, or Hurricane rather. Gonna pull away so much attention from the other side. We do have Broodlords on the way, and oh, big mothership going to come in. Gets some damage done by the Spore Crawlers, but he's just going to recall that entire army here. I don't know if that's going to be the best decision. Let's find out together as this entire army is inside Disruptor Ball. Going to get a couple of those infestors on the ramp. They are going very far out of their comfort zone as a beautiful storm going to blanket those Hydralisks, keeping them back. Feedbacks on the last of the infestors, and a recall is forced at the very last second. So overall, I'm not sure exactly what he got from that, but taking a look at the units lost tab, he is about 1,000 minerals and gas more cost efficient. I feel like the infestors are not having the effect that Ragnarok really wants them to have. He hasn't been able to get those fungals in. He hasn't been able to drop those microbial shrouds to deal with the carriers in the top, or even get those neurals on any of those big expensive units. So they're kind of, I don't want to say dead weight, but they're not being useful right now. especially since Hurricane is starving out Ragnarok entirely by taking that top position, as well as just mining that bottom for as long as he has. He's got a huge bank swelled up, while one bad move from Ragnarok and his bank is gone. Like, kaput gone. So he has to take a much better engagement, and even then, that's not going to guarantee him victory. A little bit overzealous there by Hurricane, but again, he's usually just trading out those units, and Zealots, not the biggest of deals. You can afford to lose as many of those as you possibly want, because they are just gas or mineral units, rather. But here we go. Finds himself another little angle straight into the lurker fire. Spore Crawler is going to keep those carriers and Tempest back for as long as possible. The Broodlord is going to catch a lot of these high energy, high Templars. But as Ragnarok, you can't move too far forward or risk getting taken down by the Tempests. And yeah, ZOUN lost. Hurricane is the last ditch effort here. But he is doing fantastic for his team. Once again, just moving his way into the Spore Crawler wall. Storms going to blanket the top. One fungal goes down, but you're going to need a little bit more than that. Broodlords do get a very high energy, high Templar. A second one does fall as well. And that's good. Very good, I got to say. But, you know, you're going to need a lot more, obviously. And even just trying to secure this base, you can kind of see how difficult it can be rotating between the top and bottom side with such a slow army in these Broodlords. But no worries. He will try again and again. He's just, you know, having trouble with it. Here we go. A big carrier count. The Storms are blanketing this. Two carriers are yoinked. One of them will fall, but that's going to be a very costly trade for those Corruptors. In terms of their health, they're going to have to pull back and re-heal up. One fungal goes down, a second one to follow it up, but again, he's just not having the ability to chain them as well as he would like. So Hurricane just slowly inching his way forward. I feel like right now Ragnarok does need to send some of these Hydros, or at least something, to deal with the bases in the top. While Hurricane's attention is distracted down here in the bottom. The Broodlords do move their way forward, and another big fungal, but it's just not really doing a lot of damage, especially the feedbacks. Just really clean. He's got a lot of this up. Hold that thought, though, as the carriers and Tempests are yoinked forward. The Storm's trying to save what they can. So Ragnarok getting a pretty good engagement here. He's just got to be careful not to tank too many of those Storms. And now we see the remax here from Hurricane, 5 carriers at a time. That's what you do with 10k minerals. Trying to find this base as well that doesn't exist. He's just going to take that for himself. Thank you very much. Yeah, so from here, Ragnarok's big thing is he needs to get on top of the production. Just killing the bases isn't going to be enough. Killing the economy isn't going to be enough. He's got to get some solid kills on the production of Hurricane if he wants to stay in this one. Trading out some of these Hydralisks, 15 probes getting killed. I think that's just Hurricane trading those away. And Ragnarok just kind of hanging out here in the bottom side. Maybe if he can force Hurricane to come back up here, but it's a little bit like a base trade situation almost. Yeah, the Stalker's even going to get on top of those Broods. We are 27 minutes into this game. Oh my goodness, and it's going to end in a base trade. A very slow base trade. I'm just worried because he's adding on 8 more infestors going up to Ultra's Cavern as well. Just kind of throwing everything in the kitchen sink into what he thinks he can do. But again, he hasn't been able to really get too much done with the infestors on the ground. The fungals haven't been chained. No microbial shrouds. No neurals. They just get feedback very, very quickly. Now taking a look at it, there's only 6 High Templar left. And, you know, Hurricane did recall all the way forward. So maybe if he can get a good engagement with the Corruptors, just some good yoinks, but you got to be careful not to run your army into this just yet. First couple of fungals are good yoinks. The Mothership Core. So that is a good start. Hurricane starting to get forced back, actually. The storms, he's using them positionally to allow him to retreat. But he's not mining out this top one, so he's starting to run out of bases he's mining on. I mean, he's still rich. He's on trust fund baby levels of riches right now. But I'm not calling this game too early. That's for sure. If Ragnarok can get some engagements like he just did, just kind of starve Hurricane out very, very slowly, he's going to be okay. And you can kind of see, sending the Hydralisks forward, forcing a lot of Hurricane's army away from this bottom position. And might get the base. It's very, very, very close. Not going to get it. But as he's doing that, he's pushing forward a little bit closer each and every single time. And he's securing these bases. Or trying to, at least. I think Hurricane has had enough, though, as he's just going to go for a killing blow. Doesn't want this game to continue any longer than it already has. The Disruptors on the ground going to shoo away some of this. Pulls one of them forward, but the Broodlords didn't fire until just then. And now supplies are still very, very even. It's alright, Zeiss. You're allowed to have a life out of StarCraft 2. But neither side really committing. It looks like they're about to commit, but then it just turns out to be a little bit of a feint. Like, they don't want to throw this away. After 30 minutes, you'd never want to throw away the game with a bad engagement, so you just don't engage. Alright, good yoink, though. He's cutting down some of those carriers. It's slow, but it's methodical. And the Storm's trying to blanket the Corruptors on the backfield. Not really getting too much except for the Hydralisks on the ground. And Ragnarok gets a little bit impatient. I think that is it for this one as the Corruptors are falling. He's not focus firing any of these carriers. Oh my goodness, he dived on top, and that is what killed him. 14 more Corruptors on the way, but the Void Ray count is just going to get bigger and bigger, and Hurricane is now ready to finish this one and go on to the last game of the series. Yeah, he's making 20 lings. That's how you know that he is starting to get very broke. He can't make anything gas related. And even just trying to fight a little bit disconjointed with these Corruptors. But hold that thought as the carriers do start to fall. It's just, yeah, it's not enough. You don't really have anything to deal with what's on the ground now. And dropping below 100 supply is Ragnarok. He might clean up this army. But the 8K Remax, there you have it. Hurricane stays alive. I feel like Ragnarok just got a little too impatient there for himself. But I'm kind of just running the numbers. I still think that it might not be enough because they've won 2 games so far. 2 games puts them up to 6 and 8. They win this one, they go 7 and 8. Don't you say it, Passer. Okay. You know what? Regardless of whether they make it through or not, we all got to admit this next one is going to be beautiful. As we've got another Zerg player in this PvZ. You probably know him, or you probably know his work. He kind of holds up and keeps us all alive with his warmth. And you all know who I'm talking about. So first, let's introduce the force of nature that topples houses. And I'm scared of this guy because I live in Florida. Give it up for Hurricane. And his opponent down here in the bottom. His rays hold us high. He is solar. And I got some good news, guys. More than likely, we are not going to see that super late game again. I know. You guys who like that, I'm sorry. But Submarine is just not the map for it. But Solar, you know, he's the kind of player, he will mess with your head. He will have all of these little run-bys absolutely everywhere that you can get. He will just be in your head the entire time. So as Hurricane, you've got to make that decision. Do you go for something like Adept Glaives, which is pretty good on this map, to try and kill him early, to try and prevent that situation where he gets that beautiful Zerg economy? Or, you know, do you just risk it for the biscuit and try and play the late game out like the last game? So both sides do have their bases down. Hurricane just trying to deny the natural / third base for as long as possible. And there you go. Adept Glaive. The thing is, if you're solar, you do want to kind of see this by sending one of those overlords in, because seeing that first adept doesn't really tell you too much. But here we go. The first adept just going to get a little bit of information. Won't really see too much. We see the Robo Bay coming on down. And we should, if he's going to do it, see that glaive start up right about now. Or now. There you go. We'll just call that stream delay. But, yeah. Now we just got to wait for the little bit of a build up here. Once Solar recognizes this, the big thing that you got to do, you can either go for roaches or banelings. I think roaches is the much more standard thing here. But since he did take his third base first, you are gonna have to respread that creep up there to the natural, just to keep yourself safe from the jump around. Now, glaives is something that you rely on the snowball if you're going to go all in with it. And honestly, the way it's looking for Hurricane, that's might be exactly what he decides to do. Although he is going to clear out this third base location. So, yeah, let's just keep an eye on that. There we go. Solar does go in. He's thrown down the spine crawler just to keep himself a little bit safer. The drone production has stopped for right now just because he knows he needs to be pumping out as many units as possible. The first Shaden will get inside the mineral line, but a couple of those adepts do get shaded down. Focus fires maybe one or two drones, but that was a very, very bad shade in there from Hurricane. He loses every single adept. And I mean, double the losses there. Beautiful hold there by a beautiful start by Solar. And if he wants to counterattack, he has that option now quite easily. I don't know what Hurricane's thinking with that one. That was a little bit greedy for him. And yeah, there you have it. Hurricane doesn't have a third base. He's got to hold on here and now if he wants to stay alive. We don't see those roaches moving across. He's keeping those at home just in case of the backstab with these adepts. All right. So he's not going to go for the kill. He's just going to bring those lings home. I mean, he can move across the map as easily as he would want. But this will give Hurricane just a smidge of time to get that DT shrine. The disruptors. There will be a layer, so overseers are going to be produced. But I mean, anytime Hurricane can buy is wonderful for him. So both sides just transitioning. Solar going straight up to Mutalisks. I like that because there's not going to be too much anti-air for Hurricane whatsoever. He's just going all in with those Colossus production. And I don't mean all in as in he's all inning right now. I mean, like, that's all he's really making at this point. Some good pullbacks there by Solar as well. Just making sure those disruptors don't get any good connections on him. And taking a look at upgrades, neither side has started any. So Solar, his reason, he just wants that gas so that he can kill you with mutas. Hurricanes, he just didn't have the forge. This is gonna be blindsiding for Hurricane. He's down 40 supply right now. He doesn't have the ability to stop the mutas that easily. Actually, want to see real quick. Did he see the spire? He didn't. I think he's seen the mutas at this point, though, as the War Prism kind of just dancing around, looking for whatever damage he can find. We'll lose one of them, is sacrificing it for the greater good, just to give him time to get out these stalkers, but that mutaball is getting scarier and scarier, and what's even scarier than that is this ground army. Trying to focus fight that, but that's the power of the shield battery, keeping all of those probes alive, except for 2 of them. And Solar's not pouncing on this. Like, he doesn't want to get hit by disruptors. He doesn't want to fight in any sort of choke point, just in case there's that potential to lose the game off a bad disruptor hit. There's no shield batteries in the natural, though. He doesn't have blink either, does Hurricane. So he can't chase the mutas anywhere. Solar just really prowling out while Hurricane's trying to pull the mutas away. It looks like Solar's whole army is going to come home to defend this. But the War Prism will more than likely go down. He might want to recall it, but nah, I don't think you do. You know it's dead. So you just got to go for as much damage as humanly possible. Actually, it does survive. Hey. Just a little bit quicker than the mutas. War Prism speed is so good. I feel like Solar's just playing with his food at this point, because he's still going up to a very scary mutaball, and he's going to be able to absolutely decimate these stalkers, even under the shield battery fire. This is just a little bit too much for them to handle, getting 2-shot before the overcharge is pumped, and that pulls away a lot of Hurricane's army over here to the left side, but he doesn't pounce. Like, he's just not pouncing on that right. And there we go, though. Just focus firing down as many of these stalkers as he can. Good control as well, making sure that he doesn't lose as many of the mutas as he might like. But here we go, the Lings trying to look for their angle. This first disruptor shot, getting a good chunk of them. But Solar is still maxed out. He was trading supply for 12 more Mutalisks. They will have +2 attack here very soon, as well as the Bile's gonna be shaking down the front gate. Just once he opens that up, the floodgate for the Lings is going to be dreadful. Oh, mutas and their boxes. They're like cats. You know, once you put them in a box, you can't get them out. Until you get a big scary German guy to shoot at them, then you can get a cat out of a box. But hold that thought, as the mutas do kind of pull the army away from the cells. They have to be careful not to engage on top of the Archons. That's the one thing that's going to make you lose it. Gonna lose some of the Archons anyway, though, as Hurricane out of position to deal with this army. The Roaches in the backfield gonna force this away for as long as humanly possible. Solar, 11 more mutas coming on out. He catches the Colossus. Good pickup right there, but the War Prism is forfeit if you're not careful. He's down to 27 mutas. That's even more than Stalkers. Oh my goodness, Solar. He is definitely playing with his food a little bit, and I'm worried that it might cost him everything. But the wall was down. So a small run by with a ton of lings and roaches. Both sides just kind of seesawing from the left to the right to try and find it. The Archons getting on top of this. Some beautiful connections, but it's just not enough. The War Prism goes down. The Colossus are falling. And that last Archon is not firing on what it needs to. Hurricane's army supply is plummeting. The Stalkers doing what they can, but as the last ones fall, Solar finishes things out, and he secures his team a very solid 3rd place.